YouTube channel, and I've been into electric cars since driving the Saturn EV many years ago. So I've been waiting and waiting for the Teslas to finally come out. So I think I'm on my 7th Tesla. I do a lot of races between electric cars and supercars and muscle cars, just to kind of show the performance of what these cars are really capable of. And then when I'm not making videos and that kind of stuff, I'm vice president at Philip and Patricia Frost Museum of Science. I run the technology there. So thanks everyone coming out.
What's up, Miami? I heard Starman was here. I'm really super sad. I missed the chance to meet him. One of these times, you guys are going to have to make sure I don't miss that. So my name is Eli Burton. I am the president and founder of the Tesla Owners Club, My Tesla Adventure, and the creator of the Starman comic universe and the comic book series, The Adventures of Starman. I also co-host the Tesla Geek Show with my brother over here, Anuarbek.
Thanks, Eli. I appreciate all of you coming out here. This is really exciting for us, and we really hope that it can continue into the future and grow from here. So thank you all for coming. My name is Steve Loveday. I'm Executive Director and Director of Communications at Inside EVs. And if you remember the Tesla Project Loveday commercial project from a couple years back, that was my daughter, who now won't talk about it at all. So I can't have her interviewed or bring her here or anything. She pretends like it didn't happen. But when she has kids and grandkids one day, she'll be excited to share that experience. So thanks for coming.
This is an awesome turnout. This is my 3rd Cars and Coffee. Sorry, EVs and Tea now. I want to say a big thank you to everybody for coming out, and for the guys at Inside EVs, and of course the wonderful folks at EVNX. My name is Trevor Page. I am the founder of the Tesla Owners Online YouTube channel and online forum. Some of you might have remembered it as Model 3 Owners Club, but I painted myself into a corner on that one, so I had to change the name. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, guys. One of the problems we face in this panel is predicting the future is hard, really hard. Elon Musk and Tesla have made it a little bit easier for us by giving us a direction. Sometimes the promises are, shall we say, extreme, but they always tend to come true, which is kind of interesting. In any event, I'd like to start with kind of a general topic, and then just kind of go around. Let's try, guys, to keep our answers reasonably brief, just so that we can get through some stuff before we go. As I said at the top of the thing, there's a lot of hype surrounding electric vehicles. The only people who are meeting the hype right now are you-know-who. But other than that, a lot of promises, hard to tell whether those promises are going to be kept. First question to the group. If you were to look at the overall technology spectrum that we're looking at for electric vehicles, let's say over the next 5 years, what's the most important technology in your opinion? Would it be battery tech? Would it be autonomous driving tech? Or would it be something else? Talk to us. Anwar, you want to begin?
Yeah, sure. I think definitely. The answer is easy, and most people in the audience know what it is, right? It's battery tech. I think whoever, but even more, like if you keep going down the line of supply chain, when Elon was talking about getting into the mining business, I think people kind of laughed at the idea, but I don't think he was joking. I hope they do it through the Boring Company, so if it is a failure, we're like, oh, that wasn't us. But I really think Tesla is gonna start to look at this in a serious way, increasing the density, April 2020, battery and powertrain day. In my opinion, they're gonna announce something massive. Elon keeps alluding to this. It's blowing his mind, and Elon's insane. So I'm thinking maybe they'll announce the 1,000,000-mile battery. Longevity, I think, is gonna be huge. So when you're talking about autonomy, our Tesla fleet of taxis going around, these cars have to last for a long time, and I think batteries is the key to all this. And battery tech, in my opinion, is the easy answer. The next 5-10 years for sure. And whoever controls, this is where I think Tesla has an opportunity. If you jump into the game now, when all these other OEMs are trying to figure out how to do EVs, if Tesla locks down the battery game, like sourcing lithium, nickel, and cobalt, they control the future. The EV revolution, it will be controlled by Tesla. I think it's going to be to the benefit of everyone.
I think for the industry too, there's really 2 parts to it, right? So for electric vehicles, unlike ICE cars, that the real driver of power is the engine, Electric vehicles do have motors, but that's not really the supply constraint. It's the batteries that store the energy for them. So Legacy Auto really has to come at this from two different directions. They've got to figure out their supply chain and their supply line on batteries just so they can ship the cars, but also over the next coming 5 years, autonomy is going to continue to progress for Tesla as well, which is going to further push them into, they're going to have to solve both the battery problem and continue to improve the autonomy problem if they're going to make their products competitive. So I really think battery is obviously the first piece of the puzzle, but then working rapidly on autonomy and software as a service is going to be a huge part of the second.
He stole mine right at the end there. I was going to say, banking on Eli's. I was going to talk a little bit about the software, even though that wasn't part of the question. But I think Tesla has proven that, it's not just the battery constraints that are the issues for the OEMs. They just don't have the software strength to be able to continually improve range and efficiency like Tesla is, on a regular basis. So range improvements, again, just recently, and more to come in the near future. So I think that the software side of the battery in industry is critical to the future.
Go ahead, Brooks.
Yeah, I would agree with the battery technology. I think a lot of people that I talk to about electric cars are always hitting that hurdle of, traveling and charging and that kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of other electric cars out there, and you can see that they haven't had the success that Tesla has. And that's because, you can travel the country, you can charge. But with all the cars coming out and Tesla's making them and bring out a ton of cars, I think the supercharger network's got to expand. We can't be waiting in lines. And so charging faster, quicker, and just more infrastructure across the country is going to be the key. And that's why Tesla's been so far ahead of everybody else.
Real quick, by a show of hands, how many people here are currently driving or at least have one electric vehicle in their household? All right, just
Wow.
about everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would have to agree with everybody on the panel. Tesla, if you look at them, they set the bar so high that, the rest of the OEMs are coming on board. And if you look at the rest of the cars on the market, in a lot of ways, they're either compliance cars or they're a little dissatisfying in a lot of ways. Elon goes on Twitter sometimes or even on interviews and says, well, none of the cars are good as the car we put out in 2012 yet. I think in a lot of ways you have to realize that the car manufacturers, they still got to keep the lights on. They got to keep selling these other cars and stuff because, they just don't have the battery tech. They don't have, they all laughed at Tesla for many years, and now here they are. They're forced to be reckoned with. Stock price aside. But I think the OEMs really have to own the battery tech as much as what they own in terms of the ICE, the engine itself. Because if you look at the way the manufacturers, the only thing they keep in-house is body building, final assembly, and engine design and building. That's all they do. Everything else is literally outsourced, and Tesla is a very, very integrated, vertically oriented company in a lot of ways. So unless they actually develop and build their own cells, much like what Tesla's about to do, they're going to be at a cost disadvantage. So the flip side of that, of course, is there are going to be a lot of compromisers of those cars. They're going to have less range, not as much performance. They're going to cut corners in order to compete in a lot of ways. So there's no doubt in my mind that those cars won't improve over time. But Tesla has such a lead on a lot of ways that it's I don't know what to say. It's just one of those things, I think the other manufacturers are going to come up, but it's going to take longer than I think a lot of people anticipate. In a lot of ways, too, they also have an uphill battle because you got the whole dealership network situation, which is, in a lot of ways, very hostile to selling electric vehicles because their business model is, well, we make the money on the service side of stuff, not on the front end. And Tesla was actually smart in a lot of ways to say, look, we're not going to go down the dealership route. We can't do franchises because, it's counterproductive of what we want to do. And the moment they go down the franchise, that's a slippery slope. I think that's why Tesla's fighting so hard to not do the franchise thing, because the moment you do that, you can't put the genie back in the bottle,
Well, we have 5 agreements. That's not good, guys. Come on. But actually, I agree as well. I want to change up the question a little bit, really picking up on the very end of what Trevor said. Tesla lead keeps expanding, actually, despite some things you hear. I think that's really the case. So I want to go back to an old meme and bring it forward into the future. The old meme is, gosh, what if somebody acquired Tesla Motors? What if that somebody was a legacy auto company or maybe a newer tech company? So let's look into the future. 5 years again seems like a good spectrum. The lead keeps expanding. And somebody is going to say to themselves, you know, despite the stock price, maybe Tesla's worth an acquisition. Or flipping things around, maybe Tesla, given their current stock price and valuation, may acquire a legacy maker. But let's focus on the first part. Guys, if they were acquired, is that a good thing or a bad thing? What would it mean? That's kind of a crazy question, but it's relevant. Trev, we'll start with you and work down the other way. Sorry to put pressure on you.
Personally, I don't think that Tesla's going to be acquired. They're too big. They're too far gone now. I mean, there was a time, actually there were several cases where Tesla almost went bankrupt. 2008 during the financial crisis, and around 2013, early part of 2013, Elon had said that, he had talked to the guys at Google about a possible acquisition. The bottom line here is Tesla's intellectual property, their factories, their know-how, their engineering, their patent portfolio is just, it's, even if they were to be acquired, let's say things really went south for whatever reason, that's worth something. I mean, how many people have seen the video by Chamath Palihapitiya? Okay, I got it on my YouTube channel if you look at it. This guy, man, he's got his head on his shoulders. And he really makes a point, that property is so valuable, any auto manufacturer would pony up the money to buy them because it's so valuable. I think the onus really is the other manufacturers have to pay attention to what Tesla's actually doing because they're so disruptive in many different ways. So if anybody was to acquire them, well, obviously they have to have very deep pockets. And if you look at the market as far as what's a good fit, a lot of people like to throw around Apple, for example. It's no secret that Apple's been working on this Project Titan for many years with nothing to show for it. But they have deep pockets, so if it doesn't work out, well, cost of doing business, right, and they move on. But if you look at the way Tesla operates, a lot of the stuff is pulled out of straight Apple's playbook in a lot of ways, right? So there's a lot of fitment there. But would Apple really want to have a car business? I don't know.
I think over the past decade since Tesla started, I think there was a number of opportunities where even Elon would have been open to acquisition because he was afraid of the future of the company. But now, after 2 quarters of profitability, major buy-ins over the past months by large institutional investors, I can't imagine anybody can offer enough money now for these guys to give up their share, because it's now very clear that Tesla not only can be profitable, but they are profitable, and they're growing in a world where the rest of the manufacturers have marginal growth and aren't even jumping on the EV wagon. In fact, like the Q4 earnings report from Ford even more shows how important electric is. Like Ford lost a ton of money, their CEO just left. Like Tesla is leading the future in both electric vehicles and autonomy and batteries and neural processing chips to handle autopilot. There's so many technology pieces that they're in the lead on that although their market cap is $160 billion, if Tesla's going to seriously consider an acquisition, it's probably going to be $500 billion or plus that nobody can afford. And at this point, I don't see Elon walking away from it, because for you guys who follow Elon Musk, all of this for him is, he wants to help improve Earth with Tesla, but this is really a cash machine to help put humans on Mars. So I don't see any way that he walks away from this thing now.
I agree. I think if this was going to happen, it was going to happen years ago. And maybe if it did happen years ago, it would have been something could have been positive for Tesla and for whatever OEM or company it was, that acquired them. But at this point, I think that there's a few automotive CEOs that are kind of coming around. They're starting to get on Twitter and tweet and support Elon and finally realize that Tesla has done this and now they're behind and they need to work harder. But there's still a lot of automakers that I think don't have a lot of faith in Tesla and think that it might even be, of course, not only cost prohibitive, but also a detriment to take them on as even though they have had 2 profitable quarters, they haven't been profitable in the past, and there's all kinds of negativity out there still about how they handle things and how they run things, and I don't know if there's any major automaker that would want to adopt that. But like Trevor had said, someone like Apple makes more sense, but I think that's beyond us now. I think if Apple was going to acquire Tesla, that needed to happen in 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
that ship has sailed.
Yeah, for sure.
And Apple's play too, from what I understand from my information on Apple, is that they decided to go with a pure tech play, meaning Apple doesn't want to be in the automotive business. They're developing an autonomy solution that is going to be something that they want to license and sell to auto manufacturers. Apple, from my understanding, wants to stay in the pure tech business and not own the difficulty of manufacturing cars. There's some great comparisons that I've seen that actually building rockets is far easier than manufacturing cars. And I think Apple realized that, and they didn't want to get into that game. But then the other part of the question that was posed too is, can legacy auto manufacturers, why they don't want to jump into this because of profitability? And it's a real concern, right? So would Tesla acquire a legacy auto manufacturer? And my thought on this is actually no, because these guys have billions of dollars in assets in manufacturing facilities and equipment and infrastructure that a lot of it can't be repurposed for electric vehicles. There's a lot of these things that are going to have to go, and if they're going to start designing cars in the future, a lot of their tooling isn't useful. So they have a lot of dead assets, and that's part of what's slowing these guys down from making the jump, is whenever they do, they're going to lose billions of dollars for quarter over quarter over quarter, why they make and try and survive the transition. That's why for a lot of these guys, you've kind of seen the strategy be to do lip service to EVs, keep promising you a car that's going to come in 2020 that ultimately ends up being 2025, so they can play the PR game where they try and figure out how to stomach the cost required to rebuild their infrastructure.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what's been said so far. So I think the tipping point has been reached. Tesla's getting too big. Apple, that would have been a weird play for an Apple car or taking over Tesla anyways. I think Tesla's not going to be interested in any legacy automotive manufacturing. Everything they're building is brand new. They're building gigafactories everywhere. All their stuff is, way ahead of what other manufacturers are doing as far as being more efficient and cost effective. So I think Tesla's here to stay, and I don't think they're going to buy anybody. And while it's not over the hump of total of being Tesla making it through everything, I think that's here to stay.
So I used to be an Apple fanboy before I jumped on the Elon Tesla bandwagon. So like my dream is Apple acquires Tesla and makes Elon CEO and gives him like full control. Imagine that, right? With the cash reserves that Apple has, and Elon's just like, he's just a good human being trying to do good things in the world. I just think that would be amazing for the world. So I definitely vote on that. I also have this prediction. You guys may disagree with me, but in 5 years, I think the automotive space is going to go through a huge shakeup, and it's going to be very similar to what happened with mobile phones. Right now in your phones, you either have Apple iPhone or Google Android, right? And maybe one other, what's the Chinese? Like 2 or 3. I think that's what's coming. Like the revolution that we're seeing right now, it's all gonna just, and I think what's gonna happen, this is my prediction, again, somebody record this in 5 years and laugh at me, but I think the #1 company, the Apple, the iOS of the world will be Tesla. They're the ones that started it. The iPhone of our automotive was the Model 3. I think Rivian will be the Google, or Rivian's been very quiet, but guys, like the serious money behind Rivian. I don't think that's the first time Amazon's going to invest in it. They're going to keep pouring money into it. They're going to make Rivian into a big play. And the controversial thing that I'm going to say is I think all the other OEMs today, Audi, Ford, the names that we're used to, I think they'll all be one company in 5 years. Because what I'm seeing right now is very scary. I was all about like the Tesla killer. I'm like, please bring it on. That only helps our mission, Tesla's mission. But what I'm seeing right now, the Porsche Taycan and the range issues it's having, like there's a lot of talk in Super Bowl ads, but like I'm kind of scared that these guys are not taking this seriously. So what that's going to happen is the consumers are going to put them out of business basically because they're going to stop buying these cars and they'll have to keep combining forces. So it'll be this one large OEM. I don't even know what it's going to be called. It's a combination of Ford, GM, and Porsche. Like
They should just come out and call themselves Big Oil. Oh.
So that's my prediction.
One more point about Tesla. Right now, they command the vast lion's share of the market for EVs, and I don't see that changing. But we're starting to see the beginnings of software as a service with this company. Mm-hmm. They're going to own the profits too.
I follow this stuff really closely. Have you guys heard of ARK Invest? You guys have probably seen them on CNBC too. I'm on a call with ARK every Friday for 2 hours. Like Kathy is a good friend of mine. So I followed ARK. I've been an investor of Tesla's for a long time, a huge fanboy. But ARK has probably called this better than anybody because people laughed at ARK a few years ago, but now everybody's inviting them to CNBC because their models their models, which seem ludicrous, are conservative, is what we're seeing now. And ARK recently released some data that in 2018, 1.5 million roughly EVs were sold worldwide. but 80% of that is in China. China is just like, they're about to, I think China is going to be a very interesting story for the EV story in the next 5 years. And of the rest of the 20%, I think 17 or 18% of the market cap is Tesla, right, of the EV space. And then in 2019, they estimated 2 million roughly. So there's a little bit of a bump. But ARC is saying over the next 5 years, 37 million new cars sold will be electric vehicles. Worldwide, there are about 90 million cars sold, so over a third EVs. Like, you guys probably somewhat believe it, but most people do not, that are not in our community, that don't understand what's going on, that have never sat in a Tesla, they think this is ludicrous. But what we're seeing is this could be a very, very real thing.
By late spring, if you count VINs, Tesla will have made 1 million Model 3s. And that's, I mean, China's coming online now. It's crazy. It's going to take off.
Of those million Model 3s, the question that lurks in the background is autonomy. We heard all of you guys say that battery tech is where it's at. I agree with you. Okay, I think you're right. But ultimately lurking out there is the whole question of autonomy. And then the minute we get into that domain, we get into what does autonomy mean. The first panel generally came to the conclusion not to hold your breath. Okay, you know, I mean, they talked about autopilot and they talked about all the cool things that Tesla's doing right now, but don't hold your breath. I'm curious, do you guys agree with that assessment over a 5-year timeline? And also, what is the real future of autonomous fleets, which is really a major disruptive change in the way we look at the automotive world? So I guess those kind of general issues are what this question is about. I don't know where we want to start. Eli, you want to jump in hard?
How many people here have a Tesla with autopilot? Okay, awesome, a good percentage. So anybody who's had one of these cars over a year or two, especially if they had one before about March of 2018, they have seen massive improvements in AP 2.0 over the last couple of years. And unlike most technologies that deliver that improve on a rather logarithmic type scale, these type neural net driven technologies that are powered by AI, they improve, when they do improve, they improve exponentially. So I think it is not a hold your breath type scenario for over the next 5 years to see a very minimum of level 3 self-driving.
Not only that, this is like a major investor in Tesla, fanboy, like podcaster, all that stuff. When the Cybertruck came out, I was like, what is that ugly monstrosity? And within 30 minutes, I put a deposit on a fully loaded Cybertruck. So that is real. I personally had that experience. When I was there in person looking at it, especially the specs, I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I can't wait. We're getting it. I was one of the top referral program winners. I've got 2 roadsters, next-gen roadsters, along with Trevor. I've got that coming. The F1, the only F1 track in U.S. is in Austin, Texas. That's where I live. So
you're going to take the Cybertruck on the F1 track, right?
Yes. I was going to say, I'm trying to work. I was just telling Brooks, I'm trying to get supercharging at the F1 track, and he's going to come, and we're going to race against all the...
Yeah, I'm down.
SpaceX package.
I was there too. I thought it was a joke when it came out.
What do you think about it now, though?
And then he's like, one more thing. I'm like, he's gonna bring out the real truck now.
We all thought this. I thought Elon was trolling us. We all looked at each other.
Like,
you know what?
But after, all right, so after an hour, you're walking around, then you saw it actually driving around. You're like, all right, I'd rock that for 40 grand, no doubt. You know, around Miami. So I think it's a bold statement. It's nothing out there like it, and it'll sell for sure.
I think it's going to recruit a whole new generation of pickup truck buyers, not current pickup truck owners that want a Tesla truck, but a whole group of people that maybe aren't even truck owners or never planned on owning a truck are going to buy the Tesla Cybertruck, and I think that's huge.
I've said this many times before, that it was not enough for Tesla to just drop another F-150 competitor on the market. They had to do something radically different, and Tesla just dropped the manliest truck ever on the market.
And where does the manliest truck ever need to be made?
Austin, Texas.
Giga Austin!
Let's hope it happens.
I think that's actually going to happen. Because we have like Texas Edition. Imagine Texas Edition Cybertruck.
I just hope they use it as a carrot to get Texas to say, okay, guys, it's time. Let us sell.
We're working on it. I may or may not be working on this.
Awesome. All right, what's the next question?
San Antonio, dude, this is legit. The Texas Department of Transportation executives reach out to me. They're like, "We heard you're like the Tesla guy," and I live in Austin. That's where a lot of these meetings happen. So I've been participating. I'm not going to discuss details, but I'm surprised. Our government is actually looking at how the roads and the highways in Texas, how to get them ready for EVs and autonomy. And I'm like, wow. And they've been working on this for years. They're about to make some major changes, and they wanted Tesla's input. And I told them, like, I don't work for Tesla, but I'd love to give my
I stayed
input.
at Holiday Inn Express.
Let's go on to the next. Let's go on to the next question, guys. Sir.
How much longer do you figure people are going to be owning cars?
I'm an owner. I'm not changing.
You are now, but
No, I know what you're saying.
how long in the future before people say it's not required?
So you're talking this world where we pay for transportation as a service, right?
Yeah.
Where we have autonomy solved, that it's at a price point that we no longer have to pay humans to deliver transportation, so it makes more sense to not own vehicles. I think in urban areas, that will be in the next 5 to 7 years. Yeah, because I mean,
Then you don't need a driveway.
yeah, and again, the key though is where, because where the biggest amount of money in autonomy is being invested is in inner cities, because you don't actually have to build a Tesla level AI vision driven system to solve inner city driving. You can do cheaper tricks like mapping every image in the city and using those type of solutions that you can deploy faster to solve city-driven autonomous solution. That's what Waymo's doing. They're not going near as advanced as what Tesla is, but they're also not trying to develop a general AI. They're trying to develop a specialized autonomy solution. And in 5 to 7 years, that will be well proliferated, because all they have to do is solve this problem for the most dense population centers, which are cities like LA, San Francisco, Austin, Dallas, New York City, and you can serve large amounts of the population. So I think for urban area people with the next 5 to 7 years, 100%. Outside of urban areas, I think it's going to be much longer.
Based on our timeline, last question, sir.
Sorry, my last question is kind of builds on that. When am I going to be able to rent out put my Tesla as a robo-taxi anywhere in the country, anywhere in the United States?
You want the Elon kind of answer for that, or is it realistic?
What was the question? One time?
When will I be able to lease out my car as a robo-taxi? When's that going to happen? And the reason I ask is because how do they get around rain blocking the sensors? I mean, or in snow. I've driven my car up north in the snow, and it's a problem.
Absolutely, it's a problem. We talk about it several times on the podcast. I was driving down South Carolina, Virginia, whatever, fog. Car passes me on this side, blinds my camera, and you can lose autopilot pretty quickly. I've been not shy on Twitter to tell Tesla, look, you need to put sprayers on these cameras. You need to do something. Hydrophobic coatings are not good enough. So I think, California car, right? So there's going to be times when they have to fix this thing, and I think that's something that they will look at. It's just not a priority right now. But as far as the robotaxi thing is concerned, it's a matter of when, not if. Tesla's basically put their stick in the sand, and this is what we're going to do. But time's a weird thing, you just don't know. 5 years?
My guess,
not this year. I don't think, not at all.
For the right locations, because that's going to be key too, because what you said is important. I think in the next 2 to 4 years, robotaxi will be possible in the right cities, in the right climates. Again, there will be environments that it will not be right for, but I think in the right locations in the next 2 to 4 years.
I've been lobbied to take a few more questions, so we will.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Pull that down a little bit. There you go.
Okay. When you were talking about the Cybertruck, you said it's a manly truck.
Oops.
I didn't trust that, because you can't see a woman driving this Cybertruck.
And see all kinds of people driving them.
I don't think I said that.
Don't say manly.
somebody
Because
somebody
women
fess
are
up to saying it.
I didn't hear that.
I meant
He
that
said
in the most general way possible.
My mom would kill me if I was the one who said it, so I didn't. So my mom was actually about to buy a Model 3, and then, my mom's amazing, super sweet woman, just turned 60. She was about to buy a Model 3, and then she saw the Cybertruck come out, and she's like, no way, I'm waiting for that.
Mhm.
So my parents were planning on buying like an RV, spending like their retirement money, $250K to go tour the country. Instead, they're now waiting for the tri-motor, long-range Cybertruck, and they're going to do the conversion on the back, and they're going to tour the country sleeping on that. So like that, I thought when they did it, I was like, okay, this could be the future of retirement camping.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's my wife is sitting in the front seat. She's been bugging me for many years. When we retire, the first part is to do some kind of electric motorhome. It has to be electric. The problem with a motorhome, of course, is that you're not exactly mobile all the time. So, when the Cybertruck was announced, I think, well, there's the solution right there. We can just buy a cheap camper and drag it around, and you still have electric, and you can still drive around in relative comfort. I mean, the inside of the Model X, the Cybertruck, in terms of interior space, is very similar to Model X, and my wife loved that car.
I'm curious, the question that they asked about the autonomy taxi driving, if today, if Elon just like pushed a button and I see a bunch of beautiful Model 3s, I'm assuming you guys are the owners, how many of you in the audience would actually trust to send your vehicle on full self-driving to go work for you? Raise your hand.
Wanted or trusted? Trusted.
Wanted, trusted. I don't see a huge percentage. This is not the first time I've asked this from a large audience, and I've seen a similar response. I don't know, but it could be one of those like pre-Airbnb, we thought it was a really crazy idea to let people stay in your house or whatever, right? Like maybe it's one of those, but today at least, and this is again coming from fanboy and all this, I don't see something where like 50% of the owners just like go let their car, and like there's nobody in, you know what I mean? Like, is somebody gonna trash your car? Like, I'm really connected to my vehicles. And I think a lot of people are similar to me, where like, some people, a vehicle is just something to get you from point A to B, but some people, a vehicle is like a big part of who they are and like their lifestyle. So I wouldn't send my own car out like that.
I mean, I'd have to buy a car specifically for the RoboFleet network. My Starship is my baby. There's no way anybody else is taking it.
I'm with you on that. I'd buy a second one, send that one off in the fleet. I don't care what happens to it.
Any other question? Oh, yeah, please.
Oh, okay, this is excuse me. This is the last question because I'm told that we have to wrap up. So the lobbying is over.
I just
Madam.
wanted you to name your channels
Okay.
so I can
Sure.
tune into all of them.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the podcast that Eli and I do, so pull out your podcast app. It's really easy to remember, the Tesla Geek Show. So weekly, we have like, if you want to hear us rant about all this stuff, you can listen to us weekly. We have amazing guests on. We'll definitely have Elon and Franz. These are like friends of ours, so it's gonna be awesome. I think the next guest needs to be Brooks. I just decided, I'm like, dude, I want to hear this guy's story, because I've been a big fan of his channel and everything that he does a lot for the community. And then when we finish, I want to take a photo of everyone. My Instagram is Super Tesla Geeks. So if you guys want to follow that on Instagram, I'm going to do a photo of all of us. That way, I want to connect with the Tesla community. And if you want inside access, I get invited to all the unveils. And recently I've been watching it with Elon's family. So I'm seeing some like crazy things. So follow my stories, you'll see all that. Super Tesla Geeks. And our podcast is Tesla Geek Show.
Mine is Drag Times on YouTube, and then on Instagram is DragTimes.com.
It's awesome.
Yes.
One of my favorite channels, like legit.
This guy is the best racist, seriously. And he's got an epic video coming out Monday that I'm not allowed to say anything about, but subscribe to his channel and turn on notifications.
Indeed.
Just, I can't say anything, but subscribe to his channel and turn on notifications. You're not going to want to miss it.
Thanks.
You're welcome, man. So yeah, my mainstay is My Tesla Adventure on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And I also have a friend you should follow. His name is Real Life Starman.
Oh, and hold on. Did you guys see my friend here when I first met him, the Adventure Starman comic? Have you guys seen that? I think they're selling some over there. Go pick that up. That's like the best present you can buy the Tesla Geek in your life. This guy, the backstory real quick is he was so moved by the first Falcon Heavy launch. Emotionally, I mean, I think some of you guys can relate to this. Most of us are like, oh, that's great. Not Eli. I call him 11 out of 10 to my friends. Like, when it comes to Tesla stuff, this dude spends, I don't even want to say how much money he spent. He hires Marvel designers and comics. That's like a professional comic, and now he's on the second episode, Big Ol' Strikes Back, so go pick that up. buy a shit ton. I think I actually bought like 4 when I first met him. I have some friends that are in the Elon circle, so I sent a few Elon's way, and he did pick it up, by the way. He has 2 of them. I introduced Eli to Elon during the Boring, I think, unveil. So I'm like, hey, this is the guy that created the comic, and Elon lost his shit. He's like, no way. I have the video I can show you guys. He grabs the comic and he signs it for me. He goes, dude, thank you so much. This is amazing. And he framed the Elon signature comic, and he puts it in his will. Eli is next level. So his kids don't accidentally sell it for profit. He goes, the only way this will part ways from his family is if it goes to an Elon Musk museum. So this is just the beginning, so go pick it up, guys. Like, this thing is gonna be, it's gonna be collector's items one day, I promise you. They're sitting out there, but one day it's gonna be collector's items.
All right, Steve Loveday, Inside EVs. And I run the Twitter account with my brother as well, and then my personal Twitter account I'm on all the time, writerstephenl@gmail.com.
Cool. Wait. That's not enough. You got to tell us a little bit of a story.
A little
about
bit of
Project
backstory.
Loveday. Yeah, come on.
About Project Loveday? I think I already told that a little bit. Raise your hand if you remember Project Loveday. So basically, my daughter came home from school one day and said she had to write about a CEO. And I had been teaching music for about 20 years and had just started writing on the side, kind of to make ends meet, cover insurance and things like that. And I didn't know any CEOs. I mean, how many CEOs do you just know their name right off the top of your head? So I said, how about Elon Musk? And she said, well, I have to send a letter to him, like at Tesla. And I said, well, if you send a letter to him at Tesla, you're never going to get a response. So I said, how about we send a letter in the mail, but let's also make like a PDF of it and tweet it out to him. And I said, I bet he'll respond immediately if it goes onto Twitter. And she kind of laughed, and she didn't even know who Elon Musk was at the time. So we did a little research, and she sent it out, and he responded pretty quickly, and his PR people got in touch with me, and he decided to run the Project Loveday commercial contest. But it was kind of disorganized, and we didn't really know when we were going to be going to Tesla and what was happening. And then we were in Connecticut visiting family. We live in Detroit, by the way, Detroit. So we were in Connecticut visiting family, and we got a call from Tesla saying that we needed to come to the Model 3 unveiling ceremony, and Bria was going to be up on stage with one of the, I can't remember his name right now, but she was going to announce the winner, who was MKBHD.
Marquez.
Yeah, Marquez. So we flew from Connecticut to San Francisco, and I didn't know they had booked me a hotel and rented me a car, so we booked a hotel and rented a car on the cheap side of town. We had one on the nice side of town, Model X, and a nice hotel, so they paid for both, and it was really crazy. We were there about 8 hours, and 3 of those were sleeping, and the rest of the time was we were driving around in a Model X in San Francisco. Neither of us had ever been to California, and my daughter had never been on an airplane. So then we flew back to Connecticut and then got on the road to Detroit. So it was pretty nuts. But to this day, she's a teenager now, and she pretends it never happened, because she ended up on Good Morning America and all kinds of fame at that age, but now it's embarrassing. It's just a huge embarrassment, so give her a couple years.
Trev.
Well, I run several different properties. The biggest one, obviously, is our forum, TeslaOwnersOnline.com. How many people are forum members? A show of hands. Oh, good amount of people, good. Join up, it's free, doesn't cost you anything. Fantastic place to discuss Teslas. We have sub-forums for literally every product, available or not. And yeah, so there's that. Again, property on Twitter, Tesla Owners Online, very popular, very active on there. I have an Instagram account, but I don't use it all that much. Let's see here, what else? Oh, right, YouTube channel, duh. Tesla Owners Online, you can search for that. I've got lots, I've got over 300 videos I think I've done so far on that. We also run a weekly podcast as well, where we just sit down and just talk about the Tesla news, and we talk, actually, the most popular portion of the podcast is when we answer listener and viewer questions, and Ian here is our wheel and tire expert, and boy, oh boy, that we get a lot of questions about tires and wheels, so yeah, you can subscribe to that. So yeah, Tesla Owners Online. So if you just search for that, either on Twitter, the forum, YouTube, Instagram, it's all there. So I really appreciate everybody coming out and saying hi and subscribing and all that fun stuff.
Thank you, guys. This event began 4 years ago in our parking lot, and it's come a long way since then. Evan X has been around for a while. Actually, people don't realize how long we've been around. We've been around since before the Model S really was released. We're the first company in the Tesla ecosystem. Our blog is pretty widely read. It's not commercial, it's just news. We'd like to think it adds something to the community, but that's up to you to decide. I'd like to thank all of my guys for participating in this. It was very informative, obviously very knowledgeable. I'd like to thank all of you for participating in it. It worked out really, really well.